Weird science
is the revolution.
Hawkgirl number 6, the finale, written by Jadzia Axelrod with art by Amanke Nahulapan, Alex Gamera as Carrie Stachin, and Hussein Atzmain Elhal. So yeah, at the end of the last issue, it seemed like, Vulpecula got what she wanted. Like, we had Galaxy, we had Hawkgirl, and Vulpecula got her ass back to Nth World, whatever that means. And it seems that in between, well, yes, because in between that issue and this, it seems like some time has passed. So Vulpecula's gone up to do their thing, Galaxy's doing their thing, and freaking, Hawkgirl, for some reason, is doing her thing here. But we have a world that's pretty much a gray-looking world where time and physics mean nothing. We have a bunch of animal people, because Beast World wasn't enough right now. We have to go to another world where there's a fucking bunch of animal-human hybrids. But I'm talking about, you have animal-human hybrids, but then you just got a dude who looks like Sweet Tooth all grown up. He's just a dude with antlers. And they're talking about what their gods do this, and Vulpecula this. And apparently their one god shows up, a flying manta ray that shoots laser beams and kills people, until Hawkgirl shows up and kills the thing. Oh, sorry, I killed your god. But we have to then talk to the mushroom man and or woman or thing to find out information about this Nth World. And dude, this story, I don't understand. Like, I want to talk about it, but you say what happened, but did it ever happen before? Like, to say
we
what
talked
happened?
about this, where you were getting Vulpecula, and you gave it way more, leniency than I did. I just kept saying, like, what happened to, Engine Block, that guy who turned into the car? Like, what happened? And you kept saying, well, those were misplays for pet, but none of that mattered. And we realized that. So what you're getting, though, is through this whole play, you kept saying, I want to see Nth World. I want to see what happens here. I want to see what this is all about. When you start off, first off, you start off as if at any point we're going to be on the edge of our seat, that we're in Metropolis 43 minutes before the end of the world. But what is that? Where is that set up? Nothing. And in that, if people don't know about it, because maybe the people they don't realize this might be the case, but if they do, they are talking just about, hey, what's it like dating a hero? Oh, it's crazy. You thinking of dating a hero? Not really. I mean, you ended up having Kendra tell
God,
me.
if I could, I'd climb that bitch like a tree.
And that's like the weirdest, like, all right. And I will say that Jadzia Axelrod has said at points that maybe wanted to have a dating deal with this, but they wouldn't let her. So this is as close as they're going to get, that she ends up saying, man, I would have climbed that tree. I'm like, all right. But the play of this idea, Metropolis, 43, I think it says 43. I can't, it might say 48, but it's 43 minutes before the world ends. Then you go into this issue and you're like, where do we deal with that? Because when we get into Nth World, it says the Nth World, Behemoth Fall Fields, linear time not applicable. You've now thrown out any stakes. You're actually in most of this issue now in a timeless place, so that 43 minutes doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. And what you end up doing here is, in what I think is supposed to be, I'm going to be clever. I'm going to Star Wars this shit up. I'm going to have a lived-in world where we go in. This shit is so bad that you legitimately don't think that you missed an issue. You don't think that you missed 2 issues. You think that you are reading the wrong series. When I went in here, I'm like, I think I picked up the wrong fucking book. And how is that for a finale? How is a finale that you end up like, I don't even think I'm reading the same story? And then when you have Mushroom Woman talking to Sweet Tooth, and I thought you meant video game Sweet Tooth.
No, I meant the character Sweet Tooth in the comics.
And it does look it. Sweet Tooth comic guy with Mushroom, and man, you've been doing too much of the mushrooms for too long. Oh shit, Manta Ray has shown up. Oh shit, and then all of a sudden,
God, I killed your god. Old habits die hard.
Yeah, and then Kendra shows up, Hawkgirl, and I'm like, okay, this is where shit starts to try to make sense. Like, she's there to stop this bullshit.
This is where it gets worse.
Then she's like, the idea of the shit that they are saying in this, mentioning placeholder names and things that we'll never know and never care about. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's those crazy raccoon people. You better behave yourself in there. What happened? Like, we ended up, I haven't liked the series because I didn't love the focus away from Kendra. And also, I said, going into the series, it felt like Jadzia Axelrod, where's the misery? and where could I take advantage of this? But you kept telling me, and even last issue, it started getting more of a focus on Kendra. We had an argument about the deal of she has had some misery. And so by the end of this, maybe we can work this out. We talked about this last night, even after we got done recording the one, about how she might be able to get past this. It might be a cliche deal, but we can go forward with her as a way of, all right, you kind of get there, but in such a wacky way that I don't even know what the fuck you're doing here. Because again, you're talking, your battle with the Red Rook will keep, but so too will the she of the skies for the better winds. What? What is happening?
Look, you have all this weirdness to the point where it doesn't matter. It's just Hawkgirl has to go and find Galaxy, who's taken control of by Vulpecula. But the thing is,
doesn't matter.
Vulpecula made a deal with Galaxy to have this whole control over it. But the thing is, now you're an Nthron, you got to freaking keep your deals that you make. Because, old Aesop, the horse-skulled looking guy who's the spear of Nthron, shows up like, hey, look, what's going on? You didn't keep your deal, Vulpecula. Hey, Galaxy, you're free from the control anymore. And I got to tell you, that explosion that sent you all here, that created this terrible freaking devastation between the borders of your world and our world. And they're going to start collapsing on each other and annihilate both worlds. And it's going to take millions of souls of sacrifice in order to fix everything. Well, luckily, I have 1 million souls inside me, old Aesop. I'm going to Hawkgirl this shit up. I'm going to say, because for some reason in Nthron, a bunch of hawks keep coming out of her chest, like little spear animals coming out of her chest every night. Why does that keep happening? But now she's going to unleash those hawks, which are her past lives and past incarnations, to seal the barrier between the Nth world and Earth, saving both worlds in the process, because she's the Hawkgirl. And because she's going to be able to do this, sacrificing her past that has kept her in such, in such dire straits this whole time, because she felt like she had to be this person. It's always been this thing that's always kept her from being who she could be in the future, because the past was so important compared to who she is now. She's able to get rid of her past and use it as a sacrifice to save the world so she can forge a future without that burden being on her anymore.
And we get that. And she gets the...
And we get that.
And she gets the Uldren jar and the all weapon. But you even said that's something that they've had before.
Here's a piece of nth metal, and it can become any weapon you need it to be. Okay, cool, I got that shit.
Here's the other things that tie in. Again, it isn't what this is, but it really feels like at one point, Hawkgirl just yells out, no backsies! Like, the idea of, you done mess up. Yeah, it says go birds, because in this, they end up keeping trying to hit her, and she turns into birds, so she can yell go birds and jinx the Eagles even more. Thanks a lot, Jed.
Non-stop jinxing the Eagles.
Now that when you end up where she's really pushing this, she's jinxed them. It's the Madden curse. It's the Axelrod curse for the Eagles here. So when this is going on, too, again, the big play is, how are you going to get out of this? How are you going to do it? Well, there's Galaxy, who at one point's flying around saying, I'm going to kill everybody. You're not going to be able to stop me. And then that's where, hey, by the way, what did you get for that crazy thing that's going on here? Oh, I didn't make a deal. And then she just yells, you broke the one rule, meaningless. And then she's, oh, I'm free. That's all it took. Then Maureen, Eric, remember Maureen? That was the lady from the beginning. And Maureen has been sitting around, the horse-faced girl, and I'm not shaming her, though maybe. But she's been there with that skeleton deal. And then what happens, because we still can't, Jadzia Axelrod is writing a story and has painted herself into so many corners that this house, I don't know, she has to start living in circular rooms, and then she won't have that problem. But she ends up where Maureen then was actually, Aesop was hanging out deep within Maureen, because she knew that when this came to be, that she'd be able to step forward, and Maureen ends up it. And then that's the I banish. I don't know. It's like, what is happening here? And I said to you, this feels like a backdoor pilot to hey, I was writing Hawkgirl. I kind of got bored with that, so I want to do Dreamer shit. Not Dreamer, Dreaming. I want to do Sandman shit. I want to do wacky shit. And here's where the thing that angers me. First off, you didn't set up shit and really did nothing in your series for 5 issues. We get to this, you change it around as if you're going to convince people that you're this crazy deep thinker. No, tell a story. There is the idea of telling a cohesive story that sets things up and ends up with a good ending that sets the character in a good way. That to me is more intelligent than just naming crazy wacky shit.
Well, even the idea
raccoons.
That the spirit of Nth World, the Aesop character, You gotta understand, there have been holes in the borders to our worlds for a long time. The Thanagarians, they used such a gap to mine nth metal from my very heart. So all the nth metal on Thanagaria was mined from a pocket dimension from the spirit of this fucking thing. I'm like, God damn it. All right. Well, thankfully there's no more nth metal on the world, on Earth at least, before, like, except for what Kendra has. But she's now a knight of nth world.
Yeah, I'm saying, if you actually wanted to be able to have some nth metal, you could kind of go here, I guess. And if we see it later, because it'll start popping up at some points in books, and we'll just say, oh, it must have been Kendra, the Knight of Nth World. This was the thing that you kept telling me, like, you wanted to see what it was. You wanted to see what this was all about.
I don't ever want to see it again.
Pecula wanted to get back to, and it was like unearth the story of that fairy tale guy back in the Teen Titans that somehow continued later. I can't remember what book, but it did continue. Might have been Batgirls, yeah, or Batgirl. So you end up with all this stuff, and I think it was Cecil Castellucci. Remember when Cecil Castellucci was going through, like, everybody else's bullshit stories, just throwing them in there? Oh, my goodness gracious. That was one of the worst KG Beasts ever. Remember he had, like, that living gold shit going on, and it was awful. But in this, at the end, I'm reading this, and I'm just giggling, because, like, each page is worse than the next. And I'm like, all right, if Eric somehow can fish this out that you're like, this is awesome, I will lose it.
God, I wish I could have.
I would have, at that point, I would have seriously called for a wellness check, because I would think that, I'm not talking Eric Shea, this has to be somebody that Jess has put in as a dupe. That's all I could think. You're an AI without a soul. Yeah, it's Eric AI without a soul.
But what is a soul?
That would be, well, what is it? Well, it lets you dance, as we say. But in this whole play, like, what is this? I'm serious, though. I'm not even, like, we're joking about this and kind of go through it, but what was the concept of this, and how did this get past anybody's desk for a finale?
Is that we had to fix Hawkgirl with, like, since she's been separated from Shiera and Carter, from everything that's going on, we need to make her own separate entity, is not burdened by all the past incarnations and the curse and everything like that with reincarnation. She needs to be her own character. We need to purge her of everything that she has to do with Hawkman and Hawkwoman. For some reason, we took the most convoluted route to do that and had a whole storybook about fucking Galaxy as well. But this is what we got, and I don't know what's in. But by the end of this, it's all terrible nonsense. Nth World is the worst fucking thing I've ever goddamn seen. I don't fully understand it. You're not supposed to fully understand it, because things you just think about make things happen in that world. It doesn't matter. It's just a bullshit world. You can do anything in if you fucking believe it hard enough. So by the end, though, Hawkgirl is her own character once again. She can look to the future with higher hopes than she ever had before, and she can finally be Kendra Saunders and not be burdened by the past.
It's okay, but at the sales, I would guess, are not very big. And I don't know that, like, I think this whole thing was a misplay. There wasn't much of a story. It was more pushing Galaxy at first. When you finally get to Kendra, then you get this bullshit. That it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I don't understand
the bit, too, because she has her helmet in Nth World, and they play at the idea, but you didn't have your helmet when you came here because she thought about having a helmet. So when she came back from Nth World, now she has two helmets, and she's just looking at the two helmets and talking about the idea of, like, the wildest dreams of Q are the facts of Kathmandu. I can touch this helmet that appeared out of nowhere. I don't have any ghosts of Hawkwoman past looking over my shoulder. It all happened, but it's still so hard to believe. I've got to stop talking to myself. Well, got to go to a party now. I'm like, why are we focusing on the helmet?
I I love when one of the ones goes by and it's almost like a drive-by, like she's giving her the finger. She's pissed, but I don't know. The whole play.
Yeah, I'm a loud bitch.
You are a loud bitch, Eric. I was trying to find. I had some Eric AI at some point that I wanted to pull out here, but I could not find it. I think I might have ditched it, but that's a little for later, Eric. But with all that, I haven't talked sweet nothings to me. I just don't get it. And the whole idea of like, not the end. That just is icing on the shit cake. It's so crazy, end, right?
For now.
Like, is this the? Yeah, I'm so perplexed is this where she realizes, okay, this book didn't sell. Everybody's whatever. But what I can do is now, backdoor pilot this crazy nth. Maybe I'll get it. But like, can you imagine if tomorrow they announce they're going to have an nth world book? Like, can you imagine? I'm
telling you, I don't think I'd say we could do it. Like, the thing is, I like to do all in continuity books like that. I'm like, I don't want to do it. I just don't.
I don't know. It made no sense. It just made no sense. What would you give it?
ultimately, I give this a 2 out of 10. The art was fine throughout, but even when we go to the end for it, everything's just wonky with the art. There's no backgrounds or there's just a flash of colors and shit like that because it's this gray world that doesn't matter and you just think about shit and it happens and we got to the end. It's just, look, I'm happy that Kendra can be her own person. All the stuff that I've been talking about ever since Venditti's Hawkman story ended, it is now over. I can say that Kendra has moved past it and I don't have to ever bring it up again. I don't like the way that it was addressed, but it was done. So the thing is, I understood that it would be there, though, ever since we did that, because it's a big deal if you are a fan of the Hawks. It didn't make sense for Kendra to have this.
Yeah, I'm telling you, here's some more. I had to get directions from a pile of stones that played a flute, and that wasn't anywhere near the weirdest thing that happened to me today. So you have that. Then this one, I love this. This really made me, float my boat. 'Tis the fate of the Hawks to cross the Fox. With the help of the Mushroom Network, we can choose which part of your destiny happens next and place you there. I'm like, okay, who the fuck, when did Cy Spurrier fucking show up here? Because this is fucking not, and then just the idea that all this happens, and then we get back and it isn't even like, oh no, the world almost ended. We just get back and they're like, all right, I gotta do all
Galaxy's
weapons
making
and it's
shitty
party
rockets.
time. I'm expecting at this point the world is now going to end in 2 minutes as they're eating this food and clinking glasses. I mean, why would you even set that up when there was no stakes at all, nothing at all, and then you just go into this Night of Nth World bullshit that just was awful. I just don't get it. It's a mind bender. This. It's a mind
2
bender,
out of 10.
I'm a 1. I'm a 1 out of 10, and I like the art. I just can't give this anything higher because it had nothing to do really with the series. You have kind of disguised, but MacGuffins to end it and get out of things. I mean, the idea of Maureen being the Aesop and then also, hey, by the way, Galaxy, you're free because she didn't do it right, but I have to tell you that, boom, 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 I'm free. And then really Vulpecula, I couldn't even tell you, like, she just kind of disappears because of the whole thing. Just terrible. But I guess if what you wanted was for her with the, the past lives and things, that does end up. But you could have done that. It was important to me. Yeah. You could have done that in a 3-page anthology story better than this. You just could have done it. Hey, all you weirdos, if you like comic book shows, podcasts, videos, please check the description of this video where you can see links to all of our podcast shows, websites, all of that. And if you want to help us out for everything that we do, you can click on that Patreon link in the upper left-hand corner and check out our Patreon where you can go right now and get a 7-day free trial to see all the stuff that we do, shows that are Marvel, DC, indie, manga, and even more. So check all that out, and I'll talk to you all later.
Weird science is the revolution.